This is the Newsload.
Hi, I'm Carrie Anne Stevenson. I'm here with Newsload, and today I am so excited to be able to interview Ali Hassan. Hi, Ali. How are you?
Hi, Carrie Anne. How are you?
I'm amazing. So, where are you right now?
I'm in my home, which is a little warm for my liking, but that's, you suffer for your art. It is in Toronto, just outside Toronto.
The T dot.
The T dot. Eventually, that'll be a fair question where every couple of weeks I'll be like, beautiful, sunny Belleville, Ontario, or I'm going to Vancouver. I'm going to a few different Nova Scotia, but this is the calm before the storm, just at home.
Very exciting. Do you have a favorite performance stage or memory?
I do have one that always comes to mind when I think of this city. I don't know what you know about Nelson, BC. I'd never been, and I was told it was sort of like this hippie draft dodger enclave in the mountains of BC. And I was like, okay, so my agent books me there, and it's a big venue. It's like a 400-seater, and it's May long weekend. And I know nobody in Nelson. I don't even know someone who knows someone in Nelson. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be maybe not good. I remember driving in, and like the GPS, my phone says Nelson in 10 minutes. And I'm like in the mountains. I'm like literally tapping my phone. And then it's Nelson in 5 kilometers, Nelson in 2 kilometers. And I'm in a mountain. There's no way that Nelson, you come around the side of a mountain and it just opens up into a city. A beautiful city, and I see all the hippies that I was told about, and it's just like really, really picturesque. And I say to myself, well, if nothing else, this is a nice place to spend 2 nights, a lovely, lovely little town or city. And then on a long weekend, 350 people showed up to a 400-seat venue, and they gave me a standing ovation. And I went out later for drinks with about 8-10 people from the show who were super nice. Some of them connected to my hometown of Montreal, a couple of them Torontonians, a couple of them BC. And I just have the fondest memory. And I know, like, if I go back to Nelson, I cannot expect any of that. It's like a one-time chasing the dragon type of, I mean? I'm sure it'll be great, but I'll never have that same moment. So I always relish that memory. It was a good time.
Do you have a favorite tour snack?
A tour snack, it's very funny. I put in my rider, I want tea and I want fresh fruit before I go on stage, because I know that that's the best thing for me. And then as soon as I'm backstage, I'm like, damn it, I should have asked for beer and cheese. I go through it every time. But when I'm sitting in my office and I have a clear mind, I'm like, no, we're going to keep the rider at warm tea for my throat and fruit, so I don't load up on things that are going to make me tired. It's a 90-minute show I do on stage sometimes, So I'm like, I just need fruit. And every single time I'm sitting in the green room, I'm like, what kind of idiot chooses fruit and tea? This sucks. But then, I go and have beer and cheese right after the show. So it all works out. But I don't know if fruit's my favorite, but fruit's my go-to. That's what's in the rider.
Well, it's probably a good choice because it's sweet, it's delightful. Usually, ideally, it's ripe. If it's, raw and green, it's not always the best, but.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel there's less. I've never heard of E. coli with fruit. Maybe you can correct me, but if I had a
in Mexico
salad.
And stuff. Oh yeah. I heard somebody on a movie set got hepatitis C from the fruit on a cake. Yeah.
None of us are safe.
So, sometimes cheese and Doritos are
safe, if not healthy, safe for your health. That's good. I'll remember that.
Do you have any tour tips for any comics learning the tour life?
Yeah, it's kind of lonely, or it can be, especially when you're starting that tour life. I think a lot of comics, when they start, they're with friends of theirs. They are like they tour with buddies. But once you start getting booked alone, it's not really that exciting. So I think it's good for you to find things that you like to do. So for example, I like a little bit of outdoorsiness. I like to, discover a city, either the city itself or the whatever, hiking or something like that. And then I also like breweries, and there's so many breweries around that I'll always go visit a brewery. And then I don't know, bars and breweries, people are friendly. You get to talking to people and feels a little less lonely. You learned a little bit about the city. You learned a little bit about who some of the people are who are creating things in that city. Usually breweries and arts communities are kind of like connected. So I think find what you enjoy, and like whatever that is. I've met a comedian who was really big into museums, which was super surprising. That's not a classic comedian thing to say. And I think that's great. I really like eating well. So even when I was in Edinburgh for a month and not really having the best time, I still had the best time because I was eating super well.
So you were in Goon. I loved you in Goon. What was that like?
That was a very interesting, it's an all, so that was one scene. That was like my introduction, maybe my second time on set, but early introductions to filming. And like, if you see the movie, it's I think 45 seconds tops that are seen last. That's movie making for you. How much work goes into and we were in a restaurant. Imagine on the ice, and you're like, oh, we had the glare of the ice, we had reflections in the boards. I mean, that is a movie that I have so much respect for, Mike Dowse and the whole team that made it. But I really did love my small scene. We filmed overnight, and it was like super hot in this restaurant, and we would go out, and I got to learn for the first time what Winnipeg feels like in the middle of night in November. It's a little bit unpleasant. And I'd never been to Winnipeg, and I didn't know anybody or anything about the city. And since then, I've gone pretty much every year for about, I don't know, 8 years. And I have a fondness for Winnipeg. Usually I'm going to Winnipeg, and people go, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. I have nice people I know in that city. Again, connected to the arts community, connected to the comedy community. And I have a fondness for Winnipeg.
For sure. And sorry, his name is Sean William Scott, right? From
Sean William Scott was in that movie, but Mike Dowse was the director. That's who's name. Yeah, Sean William Scott from all the American Pie films and all that.
Yeah, Stifler.
I was like, what's his name again? Stifler.
He's nice to you?
He was the nicest guy ever. Actually, what he said to me, was, where are you based in LA? I'm telling my kids to get off that right now. If you're hearing dings, I'm like, can you log off anything, please? And they're like, turn the modem off. I'm like, do not turn the modem off. Just log off anything. This is what it's like working. I meet him. We run the scene a few times before filming, and he's like, so where in LA? I said, no, man, I don't live in LA. This is the second movie I've ever been on. I live in Toronto. He's like, you're kidding me. Dude, you have a comfort with acting. I would have thought you were, and this is Hollywood, and you feel like people say this stuff all the time. But he seemed so sweet. Like, he was like telling me that there's a smart thing knows that he could do American Pies for the rest of his life. He could do like 11 more American Pies and call it a day, but he wants to be challenged. He wants to do different things. So he had left LA and moved to New York so he could be more of a serious actor and be taken seriously and be surrounded by like a different type of arts community. He didn't like the phoniness of Hollywood. And so him telling me, a guy who doesn't like phoniness, that I'm surprised you don't live in LA because you seem like an actor who knows what he's doing. That was really nice. I don't think he had to say that. And that was kind of working with him. Very, very nice. We do the run through, and he does not know his lines. And I'm like, I can't believe this professional doesn't know his lines. 15 minutes later, we start the scene, and he knows every single line. So I don't know what happens between run through and filming, but he is so good, just sort of cramming it all. He's in like most of the scenes in the movie. And I didn't realize, of course, I know my lines. I'm in there for 45 seconds, but what else do I have to do with my life? But he's a much more talented actor than people might give him credit for, because we always say Stifler, which is, does that require talent? I think it still does, but it's also kind of goofy, and we don't associate it with like a real professional talented actor, but I think he is. The guy I met was pretty impressive.
Is so extreme, and being able to compare somebody like Robin Williams, who can go serious, who, it's still a struggle to try and, because being funny is hard.
It does take work. It does take work, Carrie Anne. Thank you for recognizing that. I'll agree with you on that. It does take some work.
Have you met any celebrities that have left you starstruck?
I don't really get drunk, and every time I do a little bit, it doesn't go well. So I just remind myself, like, they're a human being, and they like to be spoken to like human beings. And so I actually go out of my way to talk to celebrities about stuff that doesn't have to do with the work that they do. Like food is my go-to. If I meet, I don't know, Brad Pitt somewhere, I would be like, how's the food in Toronto treating you? I don't know if you want any restaurant recommendations. I don't know, what you need to eat to keep that six pack, but I can give you some recommendations. I try to talk about things that aren't. The one time I always remember that was Bay and Wellesley. And I did not realize, but Matt Sundin, who was the coach of the Leafs, lived in the building. I'm not even a Leafs fan. I'm a Montrealer, but I'm in the elevator and I get in and it's Matt Sundin, who I've been watching on television. And I was like, oh, damn. And I somehow, for a guy who's the captain of a team I don't even cheer for, I got a little starstruck. And then he has his hockey bag with him. And I was like, oh, hey, going on the road, Matt? He's like, no. I was like, oh, because you have your bag. So I thought maybe you were heading out of town. He goes, no. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, because you're playing. Yeah, because you play hockey. So I guess that's why you have your bag. He's like, yeah. And then the door opened and he left. And I'm like, what was that? What was that? Why did I need to talk to that man? Why did I need to speak? Why did I have to say anything? Why am I trying to, and I swear that moment always sticks in my mind as like, what a waste of his time and his elevator ride that was. And so ever since then, I'm like, these are human beings. We can also leave somebody alone. We can also leave somebody alone, which I've done before. I go into which was my home club in Montreal, and Bill Burr is sitting at the bar downstairs. The comedy's upstairs, the bar called Jimbo's is downstairs. And I've loved Bill Burr for a long time. And especially then, I was, so incredible to me. Such a great point of view. And whether you agree with it or not, he could dissect things and make them so unbelievably funny. And I see him at the bar and he's watching Boston versus Montreal. He's from Boston. I love Boston. He probably hates Montreal. We're in Montreal. I'm a Montreal fan. And I see him and I just do about 7 different computations in my mind. How's this going to go? What am I going to say? And I just kept walking and went upstairs to the comedy club and I left Bill Burr alone, which I think was the right move because I was like, I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I also don't want to get into like a beef with a guy I adore about Montreal and Boston. And I also hate the city of Boston. Boston stinks in 100 different ways. So I was like, I love this man. Let me not mess with what I have here. We got a good thing going. He doesn't know about me.
They always say, don't meet your heroes,
And that was that moment. I was like, I will not meet my hero.
I rode an elevator with Christian Slater in Vancouver, and I was wearing a baseball cap, and I was taking Suli McCooley to Yuck Yucks for a Nubian night, and riding the very nice Sutton Hotel, and Miley Cyrus and Christian Slater was in the elevator. I didn't care about Miley Cyrus, but Christian Slater.
You buried the lead, some people would say. Christian Slater is our guy, though. Yeah,
for sure. And I'm wearing the baseball cap, and I just stare in the corner and hyperventilate because, like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And he gets off, he squints at me, he nods, and I'm just like, oh my God. It was amazing. It was amazing. And then I'm pounding on Suli's hotel room, going like, Christian Slater is in the hotel. He was like, cool. He just.
Now, Christian Slater was something growing up, but I haven't seen him in ages, but the camera loved him. That guy. He was a uniquely different actor and charming in a very unique way. And yeah.
Yes. And some really beautiful movies. I loved him in Robin Hood.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I always think of, I can't remember the movie. It's 2 words. Juliette Lewis is in it. Gary Oldman plays this like Jamaican Rastafarian.
True Romance.
True Romance. I was going to say Bad Company. True Romance is really like when I totally fell in love with Christian Slater. I was like,
yeah, he was good in that one for sure. And I rode an elevator with him, and that was my hyperventilating, like totally failed in the, like, but I didn't talk to him. I did the, like leave him alone, respectful thing.
Respectful. You were hyperventilating. You had no choice but to not speak in that moment. But yes.
And I think he could tell. Like just, like an elevator is a small space. And when, like somebody is like literally just.
No.
But anyway, coming up that we should.
Actually, the month of September, I've had there's some summers where I'm on the road a lot and I really don't get to spend time with my kids. And that hurt a bit. My work comes first before anything, as much as I love my children, but I miss them in the summer. They're fully off and I want to spend time with them. I want to do things with them. So we had that this summer, which is great. And then pretty much as soon as they're back at school, I am back working quite a bit. Especially I have a comedy album recording. It's been 10 years since I did an album. And so I'm doing a comedy album recording, Comedy Bar Danforth in Toronto on the 26th of September. So I'm in clubs practicing for that pretty much every day until the 26th. Then I go on tour. I go to Vancouver in there for some work. I go on tour. I got a day filming on Murdoch Mysteries. I'll go on tour. We're doing about 5-6 cities in Ontario, and then in Montreal as well. I'll be hosting their tour, that leg of their tour. It's a comedyhereoften.com tour if anyone wants to look that up. And then, I'm in Wolfville for a festival. I'm here and there, and it feels good. Things are ramping up in the fall, which I need that. I'm not really good. I had a hernia surgery this summer, which is part of the reason I didn't book anything. And the doctor was like, you are going to sit down, you're going to put your feet up, and you're just going to watch the Olympics. And I was like, amazing. It was great. This is the best doctor's orders ever. And within 48 hours, I was like, I am losing my mind. I can't. This is a terrible thing that's happened. I can't sit around. I just can't sit and do nothing. Even if I'm like, all I'm doing is going to a movie, just like getting out of the house, I realize is so important. I mean, I've known that since I was 20 years old, but yeah, it was tough sitting around and healing for 3 weeks. Oof.
Get the hernia with your teeth.
Yeah, that's what it was. I thought you were saying my giant children. Not giant, it's the thing that created them. Of course, it's the big concern around the house. Yeah. He does some giant for about 3 weeks. I'll tell you that when he tells you about that hernia operation. People are like, you'll be constipated, you'll be this, that, your back's hurt because of this CO2 gas they put in you when doing the surgery. None of that. Just a bag of frozen peas on my groin 3 weeks.
Awful. Well, I think you're going.
Can't complain to a woman about pain. You guys, you're the pros. But anyway.
I know. Well, I'm glad that you're going. I'm glad you're healed and rested, and I hope the Olympics was fun for you. And I can't thank you enough for your time. And I wish you all the best.
Carrie, it's so nice to talk to you. You're such a pro. You said I want 20 minutes of your time, and I think we're 20 bang on.
This is the Newsload.